Hello folks, this is Patrick and I am here to talk about, or I should say continue talking about my statue painting project. Just for a little bit of brief history on my statue painting experience, it is very limited and it is limited to some of these small little figures. Hold on, let me get them in front of the screen. Limited to these. See if I can get them to focus. There they are. And this was done back in probably mid to late 80s. So this is the first and last time I ever painted a statue. And you know, if you don't use a skill, you tend to lose that skill. And so I'm sure I'm really rusty, to say the least. Now, let me show you what I've done so far. Hold on, first let's start with my supplies. You may have seen some of these supplies before, because before I went on my hiatus, I was starting to do some statue repair work. So you may have seen some of these already. Alrighty. Let's start off with, now this is not actually statue, what would you call it? Statue clay, but I actually use it for that purpose, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. This is just regular old-fashioned primer. This is primer and paint. So I'm using both of these, and I'm actually working on two models right now, and I just want to see if there's any difference or if one is better than the other. All right, now I said everything here was recommended by someone from YouTube, but that's a lie. This here, Crafts Art, was not recommended, but I went over to Michael's and I was looking through the art supplies, and I came across this for 99 cents a bottle. I am, like most folks, you know, I'm going through some financial hardships right now, so I'm doing this on a budget, or on the cheap, okay? And being someone who's just getting into this and not being a professional and not making money at it, I did want to limit the money I spent on this. So I went with the cheapest thing I could find. I might lose interest in this next month, and so I didn't want to put a whole bunch of money in it. Even if I had the money to put in it, I did not want to do that. So hopefully this is not cheap paint, and hopefully it's decent quality. And I think, let me see. Okay, no, disregard that. All right, and canned air. I use this to like blow off the statues, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. I actually use it to clean my statues too, to blow the dust off, but I also use it for this repair work and painting. And just several types of glue here. I've talked about this a lot in my previous videos. Hold on, I'll be right back. This is going to be my thumbnail. That is the only purpose of this shot right here. All right, folks, be right back, and we'll start talking about my statue painting process. All right, I'm back. And you know what? This would not be a Patrick video without some mistakes. And what I forgot this time was the rest of my supplies. I picked this up at Michael's also. As you can see, it's 25 pieces. This was probably $6 or $7. And I know this is not any high quality brushes, but again, it's just something to get me started. And hopefully, again, it won't fall apart on me. And I picked this up also. I think this was a couple dollars. So that's that. Now let's get to the good part. All right, Scream. I primed Scream using that gray primer I just showed you. And the full, is it curing time? Or for this primer to be ready to be handled, it is 24 hours. So I did this 24 hours ago, but still there is a little, I think tackiness is the right word on some of it, but it's not sticky, just a little tacky. Maybe because I did apply 2 coats on some parts of it. Maybe that's why. And let me see. I did want to point out something on here. Where is it? I guess I did a good job because I can't find it. All right, hold on. All right, is that I wasn't even on the camera. But this right here is one of my mistakes. That's glue right there. I put too much and didn't notice it until just now. All right, as I'm showing you this, I'm looking at it to check for the areas the parts that I glued together. That's one. All right, I guess I did pretty good on it because I can't even see where some of this is glued together. All right, here we go. There's one right there. Where's my pointer? That's an area. Hold on, let's get it in there. Right there. This part, that's a whole part right there. That bottom part is one big piece. And this is where I glued it. So it's not bad. I do realize that I have to do some improvement. And what I did to fill this was I used a baking soda and glue to fill in the little gaps in between the parts. I think it worked out pretty good. My concern is once this is painted, will that glue and baking soda will it peel where I glued it, or will the paint stay will it stay on there? Okay, I don't think I did too bad. All right, I'm trying to stay in frame and stay in the light. So forgive me if I get out of frame. It's not a bad job. All right, and Scream. I want to show you this. Oops, okay. The stand came apart. Probably can see there's a pretty big gap right here, and also right there, but I don't know if I'm going to try to fill those in or not because I've already put the primer on it. I don't want to do the primer again. I may just have to work with it the way it is. Okay, I don't think it's too bad. Now this is the arm. You probably saw this in the previous video. This is the arm that I had to rebuild right here. This part was broken off and missing. So this right here is super glue and baking soda. I guess I could have made that arm a little bit thicker right there, but I didn't want to make it too big. So I stopped right there. I guess I could always come back later and make it bigger if I decide to do so. All right, I wanted to show what Scream looks like fully assembled. It's a nice statue. Oh, that's right. I mentioned this in a video. I don't know if it was the last video or the video before that, but I did mention that I wanted to tell y'all how these two statues right here saved me $2,000. And let me show this first, and then I'll come back and explain that part. And this is really nice. If you're just getting into statues, I would recommend 3D models. These things are relatively inexpensive, and depending on who makes it for you, they could be some really good quality. And you can buy them in their raw form, like the carnage in the background, or you can have them fully painted. Of course, that painting will cost you more. I guess, if you're trying to get into statue repair, this is a good way to start right here. You want to start with something inexpensive, build your skills on this, and then when you get to the expensive stuff, your skills will be up to par. And that's pretty much what I'm doing with these. Also, I'm experimenting with these, to practice my I guess not really repair, because these don't need repairing, but as far as like filling in the cracks, learning the right material to use, and trying to perfect my techniques. But yeah, this is a cool statue. Now, before we get into the Carnage figure, I was, if you watch my channel before, you know that I'm a Carnage fan. I love Carnage, and I am presently in the midst of uh, accumulating the largest Carnage statue collection in the world. Okay, hopefully I'll get there one day. I'm sure there's some folks with larger collections than mine, which is presently at around 30 or so statues and a couple of figures thrown in there. Now, my collection is a Carnage collection, but it does include a couple of Venoms and this Scream, along with a smaller version of this Scream. I was looking at a Carnage model and also a Scream model. I'm sure you're familiar with the Unboxing Bros channel. They have some good statues on there, great statues. I just wish I could afford some of them. As a matter of fact, I can't remember his name right now. Oh man, okay, but anyway, the host of the channel, he does this little segment where he says, he talks about statues he wish he could afford. Well, I wish I could afford some of his because he has some great ones. There is a Scream statue that's around $1,000, and there is a Carnage statue on there that's about $1,000, and I believe they are called museum poses or museum statues, whatever. Great statues, and I did inquire about the price, and don't quote me on this, but it was around 1,000 or so, or maybe it was 1,000 with shipping included. I can't remember, but at any rate, they were really expensive for me. I can't afford them. And then I came across these two online on eBay and decided to just get these instead. I wanted the Scream. I wanted a Scream to add to my collection, and I figured, okay, you know, the Scream statue on Unboxing Bros channel is nice, okay, but this will do. This will suffice. Once I get it painted and it's looking real nice, that will feel the need for that, you know, for me having that Scream statue. But yeah, I mean, these two models right here, they saved me $2,000 because I was determined to get those statues until I came across these, and these will fill that void for me. Let's talk about Carnage. As you can see, I'm not gonna pick him up because he's not attached to the base. I got him just strapped down with rubber bands, and I don't want the thing to fall over while I'm handling it. So let's do this instead. You can see his tongue here. I haven't attached his tongue because I want to put some primer in his mouth first before I attach the tongue. Then again, maybe I should put the tongue in before I do the primer. Oh well, okay, I can figure that out later. All right, now let's talk about this base. As you can see, I have the gray here and then the red primer here. I was gonna paint this red, but these are skulls, so majority of this side of the base is gonna be white, or most likely an off-white. And I wasn't sure how the white would look over the red primer, so I decided to go with the gray. That's probably gonna, that white will probably cover this a lot easier than it would the gray. I mean the red. I didn't want some pink looking color, you know, to come out once I put the white on it or something crazy like that, because I'm not sure how these colors are gonna mix and how they're gonna work once they apply it. And I'm gonna use the red primer on the figure also. And I guess, you know what? To be honest, I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna have to experiment because I don't know. I don't know. Let me shut up before I put my foot in my mouth. So I'm going to experiment and see what happens, and I'll update y'all, let y'all know what I do. Let me see. What else can I say about him? Oh, one thing. If anyone decides to get this statue, be very careful. You can see all these really thin tendrils all over his body. Not unfortunately, but fortunately, I've only broken one, and that's this one right here. Now, I glued this back with super glue and baking soda, and it's pretty sturdy. It's holding on pretty good, so hopefully it'll be all right. Let's see. All right, again, I'm not gonna pick him up, but I did use the baking soda and super glue on the seams because the legs attached to the torso right here, and so I did fill in the little crevices with that, and it did a pretty good job. You probably can't tell from this distance, but hold on, let's see if I can zoom in. All along here and right here. All right, and that's it for that cornice. I'll be right back with the third one. All right, now this one, I believe this is the first 3D printed model that I bought, and this was probably over a year ago now, and I've been slowly working on this one as far as putting it together and trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with it. And I got to be careful because he is not glued to the base yet. Now I did do some experimenting with the red primer the other week to see what it's going to look like. And again, I'm not sure if I'm going to prime him with the red or the gray. I'll figure it out. But yeah, all of his appendages and arms and everything's glued on. Now, one thing I want to point, I was off frame. Okay, I'm sure that this was in frame. So that was pretty much all I talked about on here. Let's get him out of the stand. One thing I want to point out, if you do get this figure, now I pointed this out in some of my other videos when I talked about this statue. This part right here on the leg, it's really thin, skinny. I have skinny legs, but this thing was proportionally skinnier than my leg. It looked anorexic, so it was just bugging me. So I got some of that paper cleaning material I showed you earlier, and I used that because I don't have the glue. I mean, not glue. I don't have the modeling clay, so I used that instead. And what I did was I just shaped it to the leg, and then I'm really rusty on my anatomy. Years ago, when I used to draw, I was pretty up to speed on my anatomy, and I've since forgotten a lot of it. So I can't remember this muscle, and probably got the shape wrong, but I did the best I could. And I just shaped it to the leg, and you probably noticed it's kind of glossy. What I did was I used super glue around the edge to help it adhere to the figure. And I also put glue over the top to act as a hardener, because this stuff, once it, how can I say this? This will harden after being exposed for it. It takes it a few days, maybe even weeks, to get real hard and firm. I did not want to wait that long, because once this is dried up, I want to go ahead and prime it, and it's pretty hard right now. I might have to put more glue on it, but I wanted to use the glue as to harden it, and I think that turned out pretty good. It's going to look better once it gets painted and looks the same, and it's the same color as the rest of the statue. Okay, folks, and that's about it for this video. Hope you enjoyed that, and if you have any comments, concerns, questions, advice, anything, feel free to just leave a comment below, and I'll be back with more once I get these all primed up and I get to the painting part. Maybe for the painting I can show some of that while I'm actually doing it. That should be something easy to film without really tearing anything up or breaking anything, even for me. All right, again, thanks, folks. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. I have plenty more good stuff coming your way. Bye.